Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Star Wars Ahsoka series figure unboxing and review. Today, we're finally taking a look at Ahsoka the White, the main character from her own series. It took them long enough, but here she is. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new Ahsoka content goes live on the channel. It's been a while, hasn't it, since we used the dark background for a 1/6 scale figure review. I usually reserve it for statues, but I think the deep, rich, inky blacks contrasting against Ahsoka the White's white outfit is going to be the right call for the rest of this video. As for the box art, up front an image of the actual figure, or maybe the prototype, metallic silver foil Star Wars logo, glossy wraparound banner, World Between Worlds in the background, blue as the accent color, and more figure photography on it. This video is brought to you by Justin's Collection.shop, the home of the figure first aid kit, as well as other accessories to help your collection be the best it can be. The first aid kit contains multiple tools to help you with maintenance, styling rooted hair, and much more. We also sell crotch grabbers, soft rubber tips to prevent damage, and they're compatible with most modern Hot Toys base molds. Acrylic risers come in multi-packs. They're optically clear, thick and sturdy, and stackable. Check out the link to Justin's Collection.shop in the description. I was wondering where that saber was coming from. On the wraparound banner on the front of the box, it turns out there's another shot of Ahsoka on the side of it. Then around the back, all of the boring stuff, warnings, legal information, and their store locations. Ooh, the angry head sculpt. I'm tempted to display her with it, just so that there's a point of difference between this Ahsoka and the DX one. That's not the white outfit, of course, but we'll have to wait and see what it looks like when we install it on the body later on. I'm almost tempted to call this more of a DX than the first one, because there's a mini diorama base, LED light-up sabers, and two head sculpts. We'll get stuck into that. First in-hand impressions for Ahsoka the White. So far, so good. They've packaged her with her robe on, but there is a lot more to see for the outfit underneath it. What we're going to do now is get all of her accessories laid out in the dark box and take a closer look at everything she comes with. Starting off with the display base first. I love this base for Ahsoka. She's the main character. She should have a base that looks different compared to everyone else in the line. This is going to help her stand out. Around the front, a very shiny, heavy metal flake nameplate with the show logo on it. Up top, textured finish with some glossy bits for these inset lines. A sculpted and painted diorama backdrop part that is removable if you don't want it there, but who's going to remove it? The inlaid gold, the dry brush, the sculpted texture for the rockwork, and its detailed front and back. This is 100% staying on this base in my collection. The perimeter of the base being white is a bold choice. I kind of like it though. Translucent flight pole, non-adjustable, and a spring-loaded waist clamp. It's a smaller waist clamp than usual, so I might wrap this around Ahsoka's thigh versus her waist. This was on her right out of the box, the cloak. Thin, lightweight fabric. I'll pop this back on her when we're looking at the figure in just a minute. All you need to know for now about these two is we get two of them. I'm hesitant to call them head sculpts. They're more like half sculpts or face plates, but there's a neutral one and an angrier one, and they both have moving eyes. Her lightsaber hilts are reused from the Mandalorian version. No complaints from me. They looked good then. They look good now. Metal D-rings down below, some pops of gold, gunmetal, lighter matte grey, and a lot of shiny metallic silver. Popping the blades in, translucent plastic with some white paint applications airbrushed over the top. There's a graininess to them that might add to the look when we use these with the light-up sabers. We'll have to wait and see. Interesting. It looks like they've fixed the swooshing effect blades. They haven't. It's the same sculpt as always. It's just the curvature of Ahsoka's hilts that's doing that for them. if you flip the hilts around so the leading edge is facing forward, she holds the sabers like this, still not 100% accurate. I wish they'd angle the peg at the bottom a touch. Some folks in my Artisan Anakin video said, well, Justin, just heat up the effect pieces and reshape the peg if you want to. Clear ABS plastic does not take well to heat. Please don't try that. The only thing you'll do to them is you'll probably crack them. I don't want to sound negative, just there's room for improvement with those swooshing effect blades is all. These are the light up hilts, there's cables coming out of them, they connect to this junction box which you can hook to her back, or the flight pole if you switch out the clip on the back of it, USB-C down below, but no included USB-C cable. These hilts are compatible with the straight edge blades and the swooshing ones. They're painted in the exact same way as the non-LED ones. They've even got the D-rings down below, but you can't use them because of the cable sticking out the back of them. And lastly, some pretty mid hands, if I'm honest. The sculpt work and the paint applications lean muddy. Like there's no real defined texture. The stitching looks soft. The washes are very heavy and very little skin texture for the exposed fingers. There is, however, metallic armor plating on the back of them. That looks good, with some sculpted rope work around the edges. These are relaxed-ish open palm hands with the fingers curled in. We only get one 3-finger pointing hand or force push hand. The fingers look really strange on this one to me. Gripping hands. Fingers are soft enough. You can pry them open and pop the hilts in there, no problem. And 2 closed fists. The black wash is just so intense on these hands and not in a good way. I don't think they're going to ruin Ahsoka for me, just something to be aware of. What we're going to do now is get Ahsoka herself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. The only thing I've done is pop her lightsaber hilts on the hooks on her belt, just to complete the look. I'm happy with this. Am I overjoyed? Am I over the moon? In some ways, yes. But in others, she's not as perfect as I was hoping she was going to be. This isn't their first attempt at Ahsoka. And with their first attempt, they actually did some things better than with their second. The head sculpts are nicer with this one. I like certain bits of the outfit more here. You get the LED sabers, the diorama display base is superior versus the OG. But the way they've designed the Leku, it leaves a lot to be desired. I couldn't get her head looking any further forward for this shot, and that is driving me crazy. For such a simple thing to not be easily doable because of the sculpted plastic Leku, I'm just not a fan of the execution there. Overall, am I still chuffed with this? Yes, but if we end up getting a third version of Ahsoka from Season 2 of the show, I'm hoping they fix some of the issues with this one. That is a killer head sculpt, up close and personal, kicking things off with the neutral expression one. We'll switch to the angry sculpt in a minute. This is Rosario Dawson. No matter which way you turn the sculpt, the likeness is bang on for me. Introducing some shadow off to one side, that is still Rosario. There's a subtle translucency to the skin, right there you can see it, that adds to realism. So much sculpted skin texture, not a ton that's been painted on, it's mostly just in the sculpt. Painted eyelashes top and bottom, the white markings are very crisp, there's line work on her lips, and she's got moving eyes. That means you can alter the expression simply by moving the eyes around. We'll try that in a second. How about the Leku, though? Really good. Versus their first attempt, way more skin texture with the new Leku, different markings, and I never realized that Mando Ahsoka's Leku was so yellow in tone. Now they're a crisp, stark white. There's a lot more contrast going on. You can see all of the wrinkles and the skin detail that makes them look so much more realistic, and that was true in the series as well. I noticed they upgraded her Leku for Ahsoka versus Mandalorian. Now there is a seam running along the top there. from most angles, it's not really visible. You're only going to see that from around the back. So aesthetically speaking, I'm a huge fan of these Leku. Functionality-wise, maybe not so much. Because they're bigger, they're also thicker. They're still wired. We've got the breathy holes right there, some more at the back. Then for this back piece, there's breathy holes underneath it, hidden because it's pressed up against her back. They are almost completely useless. The thickness and rigidity of the material they went with for them means that the wires are ass. You can't even really use them to shape these darn things, and I'm worried that if I put too much pressure on them, the material's just going to split. Now, to move the eyes around, you need to take off the entire head sculpt. Then you can separate the front part from the back piece. And unfortunately, it's too tight of a fit. You can't use your finger to move the eyes. You are going to have to grab the tool. And once you insert it inside the head sculpt, then there's enough range with each of the eyes to get them looking in pretty much any direction. Let's do some rapid fire eye position tests, starting off with my favorite, side eye. There is a reason why this eye position is my favorite. It, combined with a head tilt, makes head sculpts look a hell of a lot more dynamic. Just some quick housekeeping on this. Make sure there's some white showing underneath her pupils and irises, otherwise she'll have that very odd dead-eyed stare thing going on. Looking to the other side, just as good. As long as this head sculpt's got some side eye going on, you're going to be happy. Getting the eyes lined up, I've got to admit, is particularly difficult with this head sculpt because there's very little access around the back, as you already know, and the tool isn't the easiest thing in the world to use. This is what I was referring to before with the dead-eyed stare thing. Just angle her eyes up a bit. You want to avoid this at all costs because you get to Uncanny Valley real quick. See what I mean? Problem solved. It's a small thing, but it makes a world of difference. Also, her eyes are more detailed this time versus the Mandalorian ones. You probably can't see that on camera. In person, it's a lot more obvious. The markings are brighter, the skin texture looks nicer, the skin is also overall brighter, her lips are glossier, and the headdress piece in front of her Leku is different. She's got these ear cups of sorts. It's painted in gunmetal with some silver speckling over the top. I'm still having nightmares about the scene in Ahsoka when she didn't have the headdress thing on. I never want to see that again. And before you ask, no, in 1/6 scale, you can't remove it. What do y'all think about the angry expression head sculpt? I'll tell you what I think. It is glorious. The intense furrowed brow with the heavy wrinkles up front, how the skin looks like it's bunching right there. She's also got the dimples on the side of her mouth, the sculpted teeth with the gap in between them, and I think that's a tongue in there. If that is, that's a crazy detail. The teeth have washes in between them. They're a little bit glossy. Not as translucent as I would like, but they still look realistic, especially from a distance. And this head sculpt, just like the other one, also has moving eyes. Let's do some rapid fire eye position tests. It is badass. When you lean that head sculpt forward and she's looking up at you through her furrowed brow, she looks like she wants to kick your butt. In a dynamic pose, this is probably the head sculpt you're going to want to go with. Look at that, right there. Eyes looking almost all the way up. I wish her head sculpt could be angled more forward because then you could really lean into this expression. Still, I think it works. It's always dangerous going for something extreme like this expression. Sometimes they don't pull it off, other times they do. And for me, this is one of those times. They nailed it. Oh no, the original head sculpt, not only does it not really look like Rosario, but the neck connector post is longer, it sits too high on the neck. This figure wearing the Mandalorian head sculpt, simply not displayable. Well, shit. Now I'm really wishing I could display this Ahsoka with one of the new head sculpts on because it upgrades this figure to that next level, especially when it comes to likeness. It's not possible. The old Leku aren't compatible with the new head sculpts. We'll talk about that in the pros and cons segment. And the neck connector is different, so if you push this all the way down on the neck, she's got no neck, and her head sculpt looks overly large for the body. It's going to be possible if you're committed to it, you can make it happen with some heavy modding. Okay, we've had our fun now, let's discuss the body and the outfit. The outfit is mostly all fabric with some screen printing on it. These edge detail bits, that's screen printed, but the wraps on her arms, fabric, spandex on the inside, and I know they're blowing out, but they are so stark white, there's really nothing I can do about it. There's a lot of texture for these grey sections, there's more texture for this front bit, then an asymmetrical collar that has the same crisscross, almost bandaged look as the forearm guards, and it too is blowing out because of the whiteness of the fabric. Around the back, more of that textured grey fabric with the screen printing around the edges, and it pulls in to expose the detail on her body underneath it. Speaking of the body, it's largely the same as what we got with the Mandalorian version, medical silicone shoulders and back, but the skin tone doesn't perfectly match the head sculpt this time, and I'm not a huge fan of that. It's far enough away, the shoulders versus the sculpt, that it's not a deal breaker. For figure photography, you might have to do some touch-ups to get the head sculpt to match the body better. It's devoid of any real skin texture. That, knowing full well that this is medical silicone, they could have painted it on the surface. We've seen them do it with Bane and other characters using medical silicone. Peacemaker, for example. This entire arm covering from up here down to the base of the wrist, it's adjustable. It's all fabric, you can move it around. Well, this is sculpted plastic, but everything underneath it is fabric. And given the medical silicone ends above the elbow joint, then an exposed joint takes over. I'm expecting some decent range at the elbows. We will find out in the articulation segment. These gauntlets are on Velcro, so you can take them off and readjust them. I had to do that out of the box because the straps weren't perfectly in alignment with the sculpted ones and the real straps on this material piece underneath the gauntlets. Gunmetal for the base color, a black wash, a brown wash, and some silver speckling over the top. Her belt is sculpted plastic, very nicely painted, and you know what? I'm just now realizing that there's no pleather on this. There's medical silicone that has its own degradation issues, but thank goodness, not a lick of pleather on Ahsoka's outfit. These beads are attached to the underside of her belt, up top and then down below here. They look like separate beads because of how they've been sculpted and painted, but I promise you these are just single sculpted pieces with different colored paint applications on some of the beads and the tassels at the bottom. These hooks are functional for her sabers, made of die cast, but they're pretty flared out, so I've found that the sabers fall off all the time, which is extremely frustrating when you're trying to pose her, or when you're just trying to handle the piece. These bloody bits around the back, they're so unruly, they don't want to do what they're supposed to. They just flare out in any random direction. Maybe I'll wet them down, and as they dry, they'll sit the way they're supposed to. There's some cutouts on the back of these white bandaged-looking bits on her arms, and you can see the medical silicone through them. The pads on her hips have some screen-printed detail on the surface. The pants are fully screen-printed, nice and baggy, but my question is, why is there so much padding underneath them? Can't the pants just be baggy? With the padding, yes, she fills out the pants more, but that is definitely going to impact range for articulation. I might take off the pants and remove the padding, then pop them back on. I don't think it's going to ruin the aesthetic. All of these wrinkles and pleats and creases were pre-baked in right out of the box. I haven't mentioned this yet, but there's a heavy samurai influence with this outfit. The baggy pants, the armor plating, just the way the armor looks even, with the line work and the layering at play. There's more of it tucked underneath this front boot guard. This is all sculpted plastic. Gunmetal once again like the gauntlets with some exposed painted silver sections. Some sculpted tread underneath with some weathering, some washes in the tread. Am I the only one, though, that misses the shoes from the Mandalorian? I know, not everyone loved the ninja-style toe shoes, but I did. A couple more things we need to try, then we can move on to comparisons. Number 1, the cloak, and number 2, we've got to do it. Hot Toys' attempt at LED light-up lightsabers. Oh, Hot Toys, have you been working on your wired hoods behind the scenes? I think you've been doing your homework, because while there's only a wire around the front edge of it, it's a thicker, sturdier wire than usual. It's very long, too. It goes from here all the way around the front to the other side. And because of the way the hood has been shaped, it contours to her leku. Then you can tuck the excess fabric underneath these front head tails, locking everything in place. So for once, this is almost passable as a display option. Normally, I would never display my Star Wars figures with their hoods on. For Ahsoka, I'm genuinely tempted. Around the back, it looks a bit strange, but I mean, it's there if you want it. Removing the hood, the cloak is made of a very lightweight textured fabric. It's tattered along the edges. This is a real raw edge, so make sure you're not pulling on the strings, otherwise it might degrade and the material will start to unravel. These X's around the front, they're stitched in. There's a press stud closure. I would recommend taking off the head sculpt, then installing the robe or removing it, rather than messing around with that press stud. Those things made of plastic, they're notoriously fragile. Robe off, LED sabers in her hands. I will turn off the studio lights and we'll see what these look like in low light in a minute. But around the back, junction box hooked to her belt. I would just clip this to the flight pole instead because it puts a lot of pressure on the belt. Then when you remove it, it might have stretched out the PVC plastic. Then the belt will be looser than it's supposed to be. USB-C cable not included. Sabers connected to the junction box. And are you ready for it? Flicking the switch, turning on her sabers. This is the light up effect. Very lackluster. I don't think I would ever display my Ahsoka wielding these. If you are interested in LED light-up lightsabers, why not try fusion reactors? We'll do a 1v1 comparison. Hot Toy sabers versus theirs. Studio lights off, they're just as bad now, if not even worse. The light just doesn't carry all the way through. The LEDs they've gone with simply aren't bright enough. Fusion reactors, on the other hand, it doesn't compare. Like, the custom saber is so much brighter and the entire blade is illuminated. If you're interested in looking at Fusion Reactor's stuff, I've popped a link to their Insta in the description. And yes, they make both sizes of Ahsoka sabers, the bigger one and the smaller one. One drawback with the Fusion Reactors one, and I believe they're working on this, trying to slim it down, is that the hilt is larger than the Hot Toys one. That's just because of all of the electronics they had to fit inside of this darn thing. So there's no junction box, and we can have a fully illuminated blade. In her hand, I don't think it's going to make a massive difference, but yes, it is a larger hilt. For a quick side-by-side comparison, this would be such a tough decision. If I was picking between them, I don't know that I'd be able to do it. Because I like certain things about Ahsoka the White more, that's true. The head sculpt's the diorama display base. The body is largely the same except for the reinforced joints. Then, the outfit. The white is brighter, it's going to stand out more in the collection, but the black just looks more badass to me. I prefer the black outfit overall. So in a perfect world, I would take the new head sculpts from the figure on the left and pop them on the figure from the right, but as you know, without doing modding, that isn't possible right out of the box. If you're wondering where the extra height is coming from for the figure on the right, it's not at the shoulders, it's at the top of the head. That's because of the longer neck connector with the Mandalorian version. Master and Apprentice, Sabine next to Ahsoka. This looks great to me. There's some height difference that comes across accurate, and I still cannot get over how perfect that unhelmeted Sabine head sculpt is. Some side-eye, head tilt, hip popped, holding the helmet. That's how I've been rocking her on the shelf since the day I reviewed her. Will I be displaying these two together? 100%. This one stings. R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, you bloody legend. He played the shit out of the role of Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka. Next to Ahsoka the White in 1/6 scale, Baylan towers over her. I'm waiting for Shin to come out, then we'll do a proper comparison Shin, Baylan, and Ahsoka all together, but for right now, at the time of filming this video, this is what we've got. Grand Admiral Thrawn, significantly taller than Ahsoka. These two have that history from Rebels, so I'll also be making sure he's in close proximity to Ahsoka on the shelf. Going over articulation, starting off with Ahsoka's head sculpt. It's probably the most restricted thing on the entire piece, just because of the Leku. They really restrict range. Ball joint at the base of the medical silicon neck, ball joint underneath the head, relying on the joint at the base of the neck to look forward, and trust me, the Leku are fighting me. Looking up to there, not a ton. Swivel and some pivot side to side. Medical silicon shoulders, her arms will go up to there, metal endoskeleton. They spring back down and stop around there. That's your max, let's call it. Going completely flush down by her sides, no problem. Forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the elbow joint, being very careful of this one. Single bend, it will go to around 90. This blown out white arm covering is buckling, so just watch out for it. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ratcheted hinge and swivel. Sculpted plastic belt will get in the way of torso range, crunching forward to there, which is more restricted than I was expecting, honestly. Going back to there, swivel, and a little bit of pivot side to side. Her legs are weird, man. The hip joints would normally be here, but the hinge here, quite low for some reason. Going forward to there before they lock out, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, also heavily padded underneath the baggy trousers. Double bend at the knee, going past 90, but not by much. And lastly, a hinge and swivel for the ankles. It's a die-cast reinforced joint, so hopefully it lasts. It's plugged into the foot at an angle, so we get forward and back rotation, as well as some ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing doesn't actually affect the new Ahsoka. It's more to do with the old one. If it doesn't bother you, you can just completely ignore it. They have entirely changed everything about how the head sculpt attaches to the Leku and to the body. Removing the original, comparing it to the new one, the back part has a cutout, not present on the new one, and the length of the neck connector. The original was longer, the new one is a lot shorter. The top part is similar, so if you modified the new sculpt, you might get it to fit the old Leku. As it stands right out of the box, even though we get 2 new Ahsoka head sculpts with Ahsoka the White, you can't pop one on the original Ahsoka from the Mandalorian series. I was really hoping you'd be able to. Poor Hot Toys, they just can't catch a break with their joints recently. Deadpool's ankles, Moon Knight's ankles, the original Ahsoka's elbow joints, all breaking. Now with this new Ahsoka, they thought the solution would be, understandably so, redesign the joint and reinforce it with metal. But when you're using a cheap, nasty alloy like this, it's brittle. And on a high-traffic, high-stress joint like an elbow, it is a recipe for disaster. I was watching Hyperdrive, a Star Wars channel's review on his Ahsoka, and this elbow joint, it snapped clean off the post. So be very careful when you're moving this joint. The third annoying thing, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of the bigger Leku, they're show accurate and they're giving Rebels, but they're made of a really thick, heavy-duty material, and the wires inside just can't do their job because of that. They impact articulation, and you have to sort of jut her chin forward to get her to look down, which comes across very unnatural. The first cool thing is just like the original Ahsoka, Ahsoka the White looks entirely seamless. I want to emphasize looks because she isn't actually. They've cleverly hidden cuts for joints underneath either medical silicone or the fabric bits for the outfit, so you get the best of both worlds, aesthetics and articulation. The second cool thing is the Ahsoka series sculpt really does one-up the original. It's not even close by comparison. The third cool thing, I've got my issues with these LED light-up lightsabers. Hot Toys' whole approach to this in general, it's not my vibe, but at least we get them. With DX Ahsoka from Mando, they gave us no LED sabers. I know they hadn't quite figured out this whole junction box light up hilt thing back then, but still, they didn't try anything with regards to light up sabers back then. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Ahsoka the White from the Ahsoka Disney Plus series. This is a good piece. This is a great piece, in fact. But she's not perfect. There's one thing, one overarching thing that is just driving me crazy. The Leku. They look brilliant. They're so nicely sculpted and painted. They're very accurate. But they're too rigid. If they are going to be wired, let them be wired. They made a big deal out of the practical Leku being way softer and more flexible in the series, so why not do that in 1/6 scale? Make them out of something more flexible. Because being rigid like this, you can't even get her to look properly forward without sticking out her chin, and that ruins the proportions. Such a nuisance. It came this close to derailing this entire figure for me, but the strength of the head sculpts won me over. The moving eyes, of course. The proportions with the body. It's reuse, but it's good reuse. The look of the outfit. The fact that it's almost full fabric. And the diorama display base. All of those things make up for the one big complaint I have with this. So at the end of the video, do I recommend her? Yes, I do. But go in knowing full well that you will very likely be fighting those Leku. At the end of the day, still one of their best figures in the Ahsoka series line, and she really needed to be because she is the main character from that series. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.